Riveting Radio Real Estate with Dawn Pannell. She's here today. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
And we had talked 2 weeks ago about a house around town here that had been flipped and is for sale. And so then we kind of brought up the question, well, what if we were to be the ones to flip? What kind of problems would we run across?
What to look for?
Expect? Because I see these shows and even these professionals that do it every day. It's their job. They still will walk into a house and it is something that they haven't seen before.
Right. And you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So it's not something for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But having said that, I mean you can make some money at it.
It surely is enticing to see at the end of the shows, well, we put in this and this was what it was, and if we sell it, then we're likely to make 100,000.
Right.
What? You
really?
Just made what? Doing
really?
What?
Really? So I thought last time we talked a little bit about what the buyer should beware of.
Yeah.
So this time I thought I would talk a little bit about as a buyer of something you're going to turn around and sell.
Yeah.
And as luck would have it, I'm right in the middle of a transaction right now where we're doing that.
Okay.
So I have a list of things that I got off the internet. Oddly enough, you can type in what to look for if you want to flip a house. And this is what came up.
This is it.
But from the standpoint of this transaction that we're looking at right now, we've run into some of the typical problems that you run into. First of all, the guy called and he said, I've seen this house. It looks good. It's in a great location. It's bank owned. Let's go see it. So we go out and look. Luckily, this guy has done this before, so he knows what he's looking at. So he knows, he can recognize a structurally sound house when he sees it, and he kind of has an idea of what it would take to do certain things. Replacing kitchens, how much is that going to cost? Replacing flooring, how much is that likely to cost? So we look through. It looks good. House looks good, and again, great location. So we turn in the paperwork. It's an online auction thing.
Okay.
So we put in an amount, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, we get notified that he won the bid.
Okay. So
then you have to wait for the paperwork from the bank to come. They have their own contracts and stuff. So you just have to be patient and wait for that to all come. That all came through fine, and he sent in his earnest money that they require, and they told him all the extra fees that he was going to have to pay on top of his offer, and he was fine with that because it was still a good project. Pretty good deal. And so we went through all of that, and he's paying cash, so we anticipated a quick close.
Yeah.
Well, not so much. So we get notification that the bank, okay, everything looks good. Let's try and close early. And then they start coming up with problems. They found a problem on the title that had to be, there was a typo on the title.
Oh, no.
So since this is a bank, who knows where, it's not just a matter of getting somebody to sign, and so you have to send it all back to them. Sometimes it could take as long as a month to get all of the paperwork back to them. Then the title company says that they need money to re-record this deed. Well, the bank doesn't want to pay.
No.
So, buyer's agent, can you front this money so that we can get this deal moved? So I took a check over to the title company, said, okay, here's your money. They said they can do it. So how much longer is it going to take? Well, we think maybe we can get it done in 5 days. Well, it was supposed to close on Monday. So not going to close on Monday.
No.
So fortunately, again, this guy has done this before. Oh, and then the other thing that came up is there's a problem with the septic. Well, typically the seller takes care of septic, but not in this case.
Not the bank.
Not the bank. So again, the buyer had to evaluate is what this septic repair is likely to cost still going to make it so that I can make a profit on this house? Well, luckily it turns out probably. So, but you always are going to run into those problems.
We haven't even gotten into the actual flipping of the house.
That's
yet.
right. You haven't even started. Yeah, you can't do anything until you actually own it. So yeah, this is all preliminary.
Wow.
Yeah. So, so the first thing is to go through these hurdles of actually getting him to own the house and to see, and I'm hoping that it's obviously not going to be Monday, but hopefully maybe by the following Monday we can get it closed.
Wow.
And this is paying cash. So if you're trying to finance this, I can't even imagine how much the time frame would be.
Jeez.
So yeah.
these typos in this situation, things have to be spot on.
Yeah,
you
they
can't
do.
even if it's like for, let's say for Slakey, if it was SLEKEY,
Right.
you still have to make sure it's all.
You do, yeah, and that's
just initial it or something.
No, and that's why you pay a title company to do all this stuff. I mean, that's their job. That's what they do. So luckily they turned this up, and we're going to fix it now. But again, it takes more time. So that's so. Let me talk about these things that the internet says that you need to know if you decide you want to take the plunge and do this risky but potentially lucrative job. The first problem that you run into is you don't have enough money.
Sure.
So you have to remember that you're buying this house. You're going to have the carrying costs while you're doing the work. So, you're going to be paying the taxes, you're going to be paying any HOA fees, you're going to be paying the water, the sewer, whatever, the garbage, all of that kind of stuff. So you have to plan for those and the property taxes.
And I guess if it takes a month or 3 months, you still have to pay those monthly mortgage fees.
Absolutely. Well, unless you paid cash, but you still have the monthly utility charges.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of times people forget about those things. So you have to plan for that. Paying cash eliminates any interest that you're paying, so that's a good thing. But if you do for some reason have to borrow money, then you have to figure in the interest costs for carrying that money for as long as it takes you to do this work. So, and again, that's one of the other ones. The next one is not enough time. So you always think that it's going to take a lot less time than it actually does in a case. So, you could run into problems. You could, in this case we were talking about earlier, this septic problem could be more extensive than we anticipate. So that's going to add time and money to the project. So you have to give yourself a pretty good contingency fund to cover those things.
Normally, probably not a month. We're going to get this done in 30 days.
Probably not. Yeah. They always say that, but it's interesting on some of those shows that you watch that they say 30 days, but it's usually more like 60 or 90 days before they're actually done.
And it seems like the ones where they do anticipate the short turnaround, it's always the long turnaround.
Those are the ones that end up being the longest, exactly. So you should be careful what you
put out there in the world.
Right. So the next one is not enough skills, and this is a big one. You always think that your skills are more than they really are. I think so. You have to be realistic about what you as the new owner of this house can actually do. And remember that if you're going to have to hire plumbers and electricians and drywallers and painters and all those kinds of things, if you can't do those things yourself, that's going to add to the cost. So make sure that you're realistic about what your skill level and what your skill set is. So before you go into this. And then the other one is not enough knowledge. So to be successful, you need to pick the right property and the right location at the right price. And
then know what you want to list it for.
Right. And again, that's the advantage of involving a real estate agent from the get-go, because like this house that this guy is buying, I'm going to know it from the ground up.
Yeah.
And so when he gets ready to sell it, which he may or may not do, he may decide to rent it or something like that. But if he does decide to sell it, I would know what it was before, what it is now, and how much went into getting it to that place. So
that's got to be a benefit for the seller to have someone like you that goes, listen, you may look at this price point and you go, well, what is it? Trust me, they put all new wiring, there's all new walls, they have shored up everything. I know for sure that they've done this. I've seen it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, we've talked about this before too. You have to be realistic about the neighborhood that you're in too. They always say you want to take the worst house in the best neighborhood and bring it up. But unfortunately, a lot of times what people do is they take the best house and make it better. Well, that doesn't necessarily translate into that much of an increased value.
Right.
So you have to be realistic there too. If you're paying $100,000 for a house in a great neighborhood and you turn around and put 30 or 40,000 into it, you better have looked at the comparable sales in that neighborhood to make sure that they can support selling it for in the 190s to get you your original investment and what you've put into it, plus a little bit of a profit back.
Sure.
So you have to look at those things, and that takes knowledge either from yourself or from your realtor.
As we're going to start wrapping things up. You have one more for me?
One more is not enough patience. So we talked a little bit about that. I mean, if you are in a big hurry to get something done, this is probably not
the job
for you because things always come up. It always takes longer. So you have to be willing to. And luckily, this guy again that we were talking about earlier says that. I call him with the latest problem, and he says, "Oh well, we'll get through it. Just we'll just keep plugging away." So that's kind of the attitude that you have to have.
How can somebody get in touch with you if they want to look to find some of these houses or just get their first house?
That they can call me at 490-4493. Or they can stop by the office on the corner of 3rd and Railroad. And as I always say, they know where I am if I'm not there. And again, realtors don't keep regular hours most of the time, so we're kind of out and about. So, but I'm always available by phone, and I would love to sit down and talk with you.
Always good seeing you, Dawn.
Do you know you have access to the fastest internet in Washington State? Switch to iFiber Communications right now and take advantage of our special offers. Pay only $29.95 for 100 megabit high-speed internet, or get 3 months of internet absolutely free. That's right, $29.95 for 100 megabit speeds or 3 months of internet free. Shop, stream, and game like never before with iFiber Communications high-speed internet. Call 360-427-4000 or check us online at ifiber.tv. Subject to credit approval, valid on a 24-month contract.